So guys, this is part 2. Don't forget to watch part 1. And what we're going to do here is we're going to simply just scrape the dirt away from the housing here, because this is where the seal is going to sit. If your seal is not flush, okay, don't worry about this extra dirt here. Just try to remove it, and as much as you can, just try to make it nice and clean. And once it's nice and clean, we're going to put the seal on the pump. We're not going to use any sealers like silicone or Honda Bond, none of that stuff, because the seal that it comes with is a nice, beautiful rubber seal. And this job includes a coolant flush, so you do need, I forgot to mention that in the beginning, so 2 gallons of antifreeze. I'll show you when I put it in, and then let the car run for good 20 minutes. Double check your antifreeze, put the heat on because it's going to go down. Antifreeze, the system's gonna suck it in. I'm gonna be using a special funnel that I use. But anyways, I'm gonna clean all this up, and then we're gonna mount the water pump on. So give me a moment to clean any further that I need to. All right. Okay, so the housing is nice and clean. I showed you guys how I use the blade. So here's the seal. I showed you in the part 1 how this comes with the seal, the water pump part number. So this seal sits in there. You can only put it one way, okay? If you try to get it the other way, it won't sit properly because it's designed just to be one way, and it has small little grooves in there. So all you do is you stick it in there. First, line the whole seal and get it in there, and then just push into these little tabs. It's gonna like pretty much pinch the seal and hold it for you, and it's not gonna fall out. Let me just demonstrate this for you. Nice and in there. It's not gonna fall out, okay? There you go. All right, so I'm gonna simply take one of my bolts. I'm gonna try to get the top bolt in first, okay? Like I told you, take off the hard first and the easy one last, okay? And at this point, the rest procedure began. So I checked the torque specs on this bolt. You're gonna torque this to 8.9 foot-pound. I would just do a 10 foot-pound. It's all up to you. It was really hard for me to get this torque specs. I called the dealer. They wouldn't give it to me because this customer went and picked up the part, and they wouldn't give me it because they knew it was the exact same car and the same VIN number. But it's okay. I did my own little Google search. My system didn't have it because it's one of the newer cars. Usually have it, but I don't know why. It has everything else about this car on the system, but just not torque specs for any of these new cars. Okay, I'm going to have to check that into my AllData system and probably switch up to Mitchell. So we're going to just line the water pump. We're gonna find the hole for the number 1 bolt up here. Once you find that hole, try to grab as many as threads you can. And I left my light up there somewhere. Make sure your seal does not fall out, even though I said it will not fall off. You never know, okay? Just double check. You can even check just like that. Sitting pretty good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get another one of my bolts right over here. You know, where the hell is my light at? Why is our light up there now when we need it down here? So the reason why I say is get the easy bolts first, because it's gonna hold it for us to get the harder ones in. Okay, let me put my light here. Can my camera see? Beautiful. Okay, so hold up the pump, catch the threads. Remember, this bolt was silly billy bolt. Did not come out pretty good. And okay, that was this bolt. Let me take that bolt out of there. Because I don't want to put, the bolt looks a little corroded. I did clean it off a little bit, but it's the aluminum, you know, aluminum, it grabs on. Okay, there you go. Okay, this is the part that you guys are not gonna see me because I do torque all of my spec, torque all of my bolts to the spec that I gave you guys. So I am gonna tighten them all, and then we're gonna continue, and I'll show you once it's done. All right. So I'm trying to find my socket for the short, deep socket. And where did I put it? Okay, so to get these bolts, it's gonna be a little bit of challenge, but here, let me show you a little bit of trick. You take a little bit of bag, okay, you put it here, and then you stick this bolt on top, and it's not gonna fall, okay? but it is gonna fall if you try to hit it, if it hits something. So try not to maneuver it too much. And once we find the perfect spot, we'll catch the threads, and the piece of paper will just fall out. Can get a little tricky, okay? The other two bolts, the one all the way in the bottom, you could get from the bottom if you want to lift up the car, remove the little cover on the side. But I just take extra few minutes and get it from right here. So this is going in. Okay, the little piece of paper is in there. I'll blow air in it, and all of it will just come right off. Okay, come on, let me see if I can just grab it. Can't grab it, I'll blow air in a little bit later. Alright, so I still need to get this one in. Alright guys, so I'm gonna get all the bolts in, and then we'll just continue, and I'll show you the finished job. And the bottom two, like I said, they're gonna be a little bit tricky, and we'll continue in a little bit. Alright guys, we got the pump in. There you go. I gotta get my little piece of papers out of there. The little guys, I'm gonna blow air in it, and it should all fall out. But anyways, there is a torque, like I said, also sequence. I would tighten this bolt first, snug it, snug the one in the back, snug it, then tighten both of these pretty good. Then do the same thing for these two, and then do this one and the one in the bottom. So try to keep it in order so that way the seal goes in flush, okay? But anyways, housing is clean, and water pump is in there. We cannot test it. You can pressure test it, but most likely you're gonna be pretty good, in good condition. Shouldn't leak, okay? But anyways, we're gonna put the tensioner in next. So the one of the bolts, the Allen screw bolt, is gonna go right through here, and number 12 is in the bottom. But the problem is we need to put the alternator in first, because the alternator, this bolt on the bottom of the alternator, gets blocked by the tensioner, okay? So we do need to do the alternator first. Just want to show you guys, this is the bottom bolt here for the alternator, the top one up over here, and they look something like this. 1, 2, the little one in the bottom, the big one on the top. Alright, I'm gonna get the alternator. And a lot of times the alternator, see this little guy, you can push this little guy back so you could get an easy little routing. But I got the alternator backwards, guys. That would be the monkeyest thing you could never do. I've done monkey things, it's all good. But anyways, once the alternator is in, let's put the top bolt in first, okay? So put this top bolt in first before the bottom one, because the top bolt is gonna pretty much hold everything in place, and the bottom one should automatically align. And I will give you torque specs on this, because I still gotta go look it up. But let's get the bolts on this little guy, and try to get it as much as you can. Just don't lock up the bolts, because you're gonna have to move this around a little bit to get the bottom one in. So there you go, and we're gonna just let it be there. And one in the bottom, okay, on the alternator, which is right down there, but my light is gonna reflect. But let me see if I can get it from right here. So all you're gonna have to do is wiggle it around a little bit, and this little guy should be able to catch threads. So yeah, wiggle it around a little bit. Don't worry, you're not gonna be able to get it into the wrong spot, because it's only gonna go to one little spot. After that, we're gonna take our number 14 and lock up both of the bolts, and I'm gonna go get torque specs, and I'll tell you the torque specs at the end of the video. And let me go look it up now. Alright guys, I tightened these two bolts, and I'm gonna give you torque specs, but I do want to talk about something. So we're gonna sit down at the end of the video, and we're gonna talk about something that occurred to me just earlier. I was trying to find the torque specs, okay? So let me continue. What we're gonna do is get the tensioner in. I'm gonna give you torque specs on that as well, and we're gonna finish out the job, and then we'll talk about the torque specs and everything else, okay? Alright guys, once your alternator is nice and tight, we're gonna take this tensioner. Alright, so we're gonna try to get it in there. I made a small little mistake. You can put your tensioner in there before you even remove the alternator. Before you put the alternator back in, you could just put it to the side here. But as you can see, you can do the water pump from right up here. Once you remove this tensioner, and you can just slide it out of that little groove, and from right down here you could slide it out. But if you don't want to do that, you can just do it the way I did. let's take the bolt here, long letter Allen, and the tough part here is gonna be trying for us to catch the threads, okay? Because we are gonna have to hold up the tensioner. And I think I just got lucky. Oh yeah, I got lucky. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Yep, I got lucky. So pretty much, I caught the threads on the first shot. And I'm gonna try to grab these threads all the way as much as I can. Then I am gonna torque it. And again, we're gonna sit down at the end. We're gonna talk about the torque specs. And we're gonna talk about the dealership. And the first job I had a Honda dealer. I worked in Passaic, Jersey. A Passaic Honda, River Drive Road. It was a good experience. And there was a lot of shady stuff going on. There was a lot of crazy guys there. And then I left because I learned how working on one car, you're not gonna master everything. But anyways, got this bolt perfectly where I wanted. I'm gonna leave my L on there. I'm gonna snug it a little bit. And then I'm gonna torque that. But let's finish out the job. Let's put in that number 12. Alright, so I like to do demonstrating videos, so I got this number 12 with the washer on it. So that's the bolt I'm putting next. And again, like I said, you could do the water pump from right here. It's gonna be a little bit tough, but you can do it. And I like to do demonstration with it. That's the reason why I just took the whole thing apart to give you guys a view of alternator, how you're gonna replace the alternator. Because once you have the tensioner out, that's the only way to get that alternator, okay? The alternator is not coming out without you taking out. Okay, so I got the bolt in there and it's tough to turn, so I'm gonna tighten it up with the torque wrench, and everything is tight, and we're gonna put the harness next, and then we'll put the antifreeze after that. Alright guys, the next step is for us to put the belt on. So pretty much the belt, I do have one clear view of this belt, how to change this belt, but I'm gonna wait a little bit because I do want to finish out the wiring part on this side. So let's come on this side. Let's finish out the job from right here over here. Okay, that looks good right there. So let me take my lighting, put it right here. So pretty much we're gonna finish this guy off. Be careful with the glove here again. Do not disturb the glove unless you're ready to put. So I'm gonna take my first step, put on this cable. Cannot short circuit this guy, and we're gonna take our number 12. This bolt, I tried really hard to find torque spec on this, but it shouldn't be more than like 8-9 foot-pound. But just tighten this to best of your ability, and don't forget to connect this little guy here. Don't forget to put the number 10 here, number 10 right there, and then you have the AC compressor cable. Goes all the way down there. Do not forget that, because if you forget that, that's it, your AC is not gonna work. And make sure it clicks like that. Alright, so my two number 10 bolts, I have them up over here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put one down here. Remember, I did not tighten the bolt for the voltage cable right there for the alternator. Do not forget that. I have seen that. One of my mechanics have done that. Alright, so this goes in, tighten this to best of your ability. I do not have torque spec on that little guy, but everything else, like I had showed you, giving it to you at the end of the video, we're gonna talk about something really great. So this guy, I'm gonna have to just fish from right down here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tighten this up first, lock that up. So we're done there. We're done with the number 12 here. And make sure, like I said, your ratchet does not touch it anywhere. That'd be a critical fault there. But anyways, grab this. I like to just put my hands around all of it. That way my ratchet only goes where I want it to be. Put your hand here, because you cannot damage the alternator as well. Okay, put this boot on, the jacket, there you go. Okay, so all we need to do is put our belt on, and put antifreeze into the system. And after that, put your heat on, let the car run for 20 minutes. I'm gonna be using a funnel system, but if you don't have that funnel, use put your radiator cap on, let it run good 20 minutes, let it cool off. Check your antifreeze again, let it run, let it cool off. Do 2 cycles, let the fan come on, and that should take care of that. Let the car get nice and hot. There you go. And then I got this little guy down here. Alright guys, so let me finish out the rest of the job here, and then we'll put the antifreeze and the belt. Don't forget your reservoir is hanging to the side. If you check out my other belt video, I forgot to show you guys, and immediately the customer, my friend who was working with me, he told me, like, you forgot to put the reservoir, make sure you put that back or it's gonna burn and melt and smoke. Alright, one small problem. I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna put this belt on, but then I was thinking I'm gonna do another belt at about the Honda dealer and the torque specs. I'll just give you guys the torque specs, okay? So I have torque specs here, all the numbers are here. So this bolt on the alternator here, let me grab my light. Where's my light? There we go. So this one right here is 33 foot-pound, and I did the same thing for the bottom one on the alternator. And then the Allen screw right there for the tensioner, the torque is a 24 foot-pound, and the 12 millimeter on this tensioner down there is what did I do that to 18 foot-pound, so that's a 12 millimeter down there. So that's it, there you got it. I don't have torque specs on this, but I am gonna put the belt on. I do have a routing on the belt, so if you need it, this is a crank, this is an AC pump, the tensioner, so the belt goes over the alternator around the tensioner and it comes under the pump, over the crank and over the AC. There you go. So that's how I'm gonna get that on. Yank that tensioner, slip the belt right on, bada bing, bada boom. I'm not gonna be able to catch none of that in the video. I do have a video on that. If you need it, I'll get you the link. Don't worry about that. But anyways, let's continue and then we'll put the antifreeze in. Alright guys, so there you go. I slipped the belt on right on the pulley, on the tensioner pulley, and everything is on. Just make sure you double check your belt. The routing is good. Crank it up. Everything should look good. Make sure your wrench is off before you crank it up. Blow some air on there, and everything should be perfectly good. All right. So, job well done. We need to put this reservoir back. Okay. So you simply take this little guy and put it into the housing where it belongs. Okay. And this is empty already, so if yours is not empty, empty it out so you have fresh antifreeze in there. This is tight, everything is tight. Double check, and we're gonna put antifreeze in next. So we got the antifreeze here, 2 gallons. I got one on the floor, so it's gonna probably take a 1.5 of a gallon. Make sure you get this from the dealer. Original stuff is always good. So I got my system here. Like I said, if you don't have a funnel system like this, you can fill up the antifreeze in the radiator. Most it takes, close it up, put the heat on, and let the car run. But I use this and I let it run with the funnel on, and I give it a good 20 minutes till the fans come on, both of the fans. And once the fans kick in twice, that's when I know the thermostat has opened up and all the antifreeze has cycled, okay? So that's it. I'm gonna start this car up, I'm gonna put the heat on, and I'm gonna just let it run. And you do the same thing. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Alright, so this is empty. I put 1 gallon in, and I'm about to open the 2nd gallon in. Let's see how much it takes, guys. But make sure you top it off, even fill up your reservoir. I know it's gonna take close to 2 gallons of antifreeze. Make sure your drain plug is closed, because you know in the beginning of the video, the first part 1, I did close it, and I mentioned it. And you always can check if there's water pump leaks. Well, most likely it's not gonna leak because this pump never leaks. And I think that's gonna be it, because this is about half, a little bit more than half. Still taking it. Alright, so that's it. Thank you for watching. So this, I only got that much left in there. And we still got this up to here, and it stopped. Okay, that looks good. Pretty good. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.